grind, to the hustle, the pursuit of wealth. Every story, every journey, every climb from the shelf. Here's to the drive, to the fight, to pursuit of wealth.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast with Mr. Jace Wright as the co-host. We've actually had a ton of good feedback on how this new kind of podcast style that we're doing is going. A lot of people like the transparency and the things that we're talking about. So I'm excited for what this is going to turn into. So we've kind of shared over the last few episodes, like our stories, where we're at. Today, I want to kind of get into some pivotal starting points for people in the audience that are wanting to follow along. First off, I want to talk to you a little bit about what, when we talk about these things, like everybody at the end of the day, they know saving money is important. Building a retirement is important. Building for your future is important, but we still don't do it. And what finally clicked for you in the last year that you decided, like, this is important, I need to make some changes so I can start prioritizing this?
It's a good question. And I think it boils down to just the knowledge of what our expenses actually was. So like we were uncomfortable. We didn't like the position we were in, but we also didn't know where our money was going. And so it's easy to be like, oh, we're just not making enough, or, oh, like we just don't have excess or whatever else. And so I would say that is probably the most important thing in this whole journey. Yeah. Was that conversation that me and my wife, we sat down. It was like 3 or 4 hours, where we dissected our spending habits for the previous year.
Really?
Yeah. We would just like, because you can even be, a lot of people are dishonest with themselves, first of all.
100%.
But it's easy to do that when you look back, okay, over the past week, like since I've been thinking about it, yeah, I didn't go out to eat as much, so I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Right? But if you go back 2-3 months, you start to see a habit.
Patterns.
And so I'm going to use me as an example. Like I ate out so much and spent so much money that I thought wasn't that much at the time, but it just accumulated. But I didn't know it was as big as it was until we sat down and dissected our expenses. And so to answer your question in short, that's where I think it clicked, is once we did that, we're like, okay, we know exactly how much we're spending. We know how much should be left over, but it goes somewhere, just randomly. And so it was easy to set goals after that.
Yeah. So 2 things I want to hit on there is 99% of people, if you ask them how much money they spend each month, they'll give you a number and it will be wrong.
It will.
99% of the time, it's going to be wrong. I mean, there's the Austin Garrett's of the world, our financial guy that, he is going to know exactly how much money.
He'll know to the penny how
much he spent each month, and he's got a budget. So there's those guys. But on average, majority of people are going to tell you, I spend, let's say they spend $5,000 a month. They probably spend 7. Like it's going to be dramatically different than what they think, because they aren't thinking about all the little things that do add up over time, like eating out. I'm not a Dave Ramsey person. I'm not going to say don't go get your coffee, but your coffee is $7-8, if you're doing that every single day.
Right.
A lot of the times I go to Starbucks, if I get something for like me and Bree and maybe a little like something to eat, it's $20-some. Do you know how much? I mean, you only need to save $27 a day to save $10,000 a year. So that's $10,000 a year, close to, let's say, that I might be spending on Starbucks. That's a good chunk of money that you don't think about at the time that I'm buying the Starbucks, but you have to think about it over a long period of time, like over several months of that expense. So like you said, looking at the patterns and the habits that you have with your burn rate, how much money is actually going out each month, and then comparing that to how much money do I have coming in? Because it's a lot of the times when you actually look at the number, a lot of people get to the end of the year and they realize I made $150,000. Where did it all go? Well, it just got eaten up into your expenses because you weren't telling your money where to go. You were just letting it come in and then letting it go out freely without ever tracking anything. And so, we talk about what gets measured gets managed. So the only way to manage your money is to know and measure it. Like how much are we actually expensing each month? Is there a delta? And if there's not a delta, like a gap that we could be saving, we need to make some changes. one, we either need to go get a higher income, or two, we need to cut. And I'm all for, you need to know where you're at and try to cut where you can. But at the end of the day, you can also only cut so far, where it comes to a point of like, the only other alternative is you do need to go get more income.
Well, and that's what I loved. Like when I approached you about this, and someone else that was influential as well, was my uncle. I'm talking about these things because he's lived pretty much solely on commission income. So he's lived this life for a while.
Yep.
And both of you kind of said something very similar, which I actually loved, because if you would have told me a year ago, okay, Jace, you just need to cut back eating out altogether, it never would have happened.
Yeah.
Or Chelsea, you can't order anything off of Amazon and for the entire year. It's just not going to happen. So the advice that you gave me that was really influential is like, okay, identify it. If there are things that are excessive, address it, cut it down, but don't eliminate it, because you have to be realistic with the life that you're living.
Correct.
And it'll bring you to 3 options. Option 1 is if you have excess money, then cool, you can start allocating those funds where they need to go. You can keep your lifestyle the way you want. Maybe you cut back a little bit, but you're good.
Yeah.
You just need to know where your money's going. Option 2 is if you don't have enough money and you're spending more than you're making, you have to cut back pretty significantly. Or option 3, find a way to make more money.
Yeah.
And so like when we identified that, it was very easy at that point to be like, okay, sweet, here's where we're at. Here's theoretically the lifestyle we want to live. So yeah, we'll cut back a little bit here, cut back a little bit there. But for the most part, my story was just to allocate funds when I knew I was going to make more. I had goals to make more money that year. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going to make more in real estate. And so it was less about cutting back, but more just making sure that money had a place to go.
Yeah, love that. And it's having, and it's not a budget, but at least having, hey, we know that our burn rate is going to be here. Mm-hmm. And as long as we can keep it here and we have a little bit of excess funds to invest, if I can go out and get more income as well and keep my burn rate the same, then I have even more excess funds that I can invest. And having that mentality and that game plan before you just go make more money is so crucial, because a lot of people they don't want to just budget and be tied down on what they can and can't buy. So they go make more money.
Right.
But again, they never had a plan to start with. So when they make more money, they just start spending more money. Mm-hmm. And they just get in that cycle of the lifestyle creep. And lifestyle creep is the hardest thing to change with your psychology. Mm-hmm. Because looking at your bank account and seeing money and knowing that I could buy this, but I'm not going to, is a hard discipline.
Right.
Is a very hard discipline. Why, dude, I've got 10 grand in my account. Why would I not go eat at Buffalo Wild Wings? Dude, I've got 15 grand in my account. Why would I not go buy new golf clubs? Mm-hmm. Hey, dude, I mean, I can afford a new car payment. I've got money in my account.
Right.
It's a really hard principle, but it's in a lot of, like, sometimes it's even best to just get rid of it. Like, put it in another account. Like, I like to say, have an investing account that you're going to contribute to each month. The excess funds goes in that account, and ideally it goes first. Mm-hmm. If you get paychecks, weekly paychecks, if you get commission checks, taking that percentage, whatever you want, I would recommend 20% if you can. I know that can be difficult, but if you can shoot there, that'd be awesome. 20% goes right into that investment account, and then you live off the rest of the funds. Mm-hmm. And you don't look at that investment account. Like, that is not touchable. That is for investing. It is not for new cars and toys and anything, eating out.
Right.
It is for investing. And if you can get that setup done right, it's going to make it so much easier for you in the long run. You have to separate. And I think that was something that we had you do as well, is separate out the accounts. Mm-hmm. Have even like with you, is like have a business account, and you're going to get a monthly transfer from your business account to your family checking account that equates to your burn rate. And that's what you could use. And if you're getting towards the end of the month and that account's running low, you know that you've burned more than you were supposed to, and you can look back and reflect. It's an easy way without having to actually get to a budget of like keeping a pulse on your monthly expenses. Set up, if you don't own a business, like still set up, you should have a income checking account that you have a transfer go to, like your expense checking account. And it should just be for the burn rate that you want to have that month. Mm-hmm. If you just set that up, and This is actually probably the easiest way for a person to do this. I want to make this as simple and like
And this is easy and so important. This was crucial for me. Like as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, it's like the basics. It's the baby steps.
Yeah.
It's the basics of what you need to do in order to start running. It's like you got to learn to walk. Well, let's set this up so you can start walking. The easiest thing, if you don't even, you're like, hey, I don't want to go through all my expenses. I don't want to like think that's stressful. Well, let's just do this then. Let's just say like you have a number in your head that you think your burn rate is $5,000 a month. Set up this extra checking account, transfer $5,000 a month to that checking account and have all of your expenses come out of that checking account. You're going to know in 30 days without doing anything whether or not you have more or less money in there when that 30 days comes up. Did you expense all $5,000? Chances are I would put money on it that whatever that number is that you think it is, you set up that transfer, you're not going to have enough money in there by the end of the month. And you're going to have to do another transfer to cover expenses. But that in itself will help you recognize what you need to do.
Right.
Oh crap, my expenses aren't $5,000 a month. They are, even if it's $5,500 or $6,000 or $6,500, like that's enough of a delta where it's like, hey, if you can make some changes and truly get to $5,000 a month and start saving the $500 or $1,000 to go to an investment account, that could be so beneficial in the long run. So like if your first step, because it's overwhelming to look at expenses, I would say do that as your first step. Create that separate checking account, commit to a transfer, and then see where you are in 30 days. And I'll take one step back. Before you even set that up, have the conversation with your spouse. Because I think that's probably like the very first part is most relationships struggle because of finances. Mm-hmm. It is a very tough conversation. Trust me, like I even still don't like having that conversation. I don't want Bree to ever like not be able to expense. Like she even tells me, like we had a conversation this week. I'll share this. We're going to Mexico with the team. Mm-hmm. She knows because we started doing all these like finance podcasts. I went back and I was like, I haven't checked my burn rate for a while. I went, and this isn't fair because I went like December and January. There's a lot of expenses in December and January.
Christmas, Thanksgiving.
But yeah, that was really, really hard to digest.
Right.
And, I shared it with her and stuff. And so like, she's like, hey, I want to buy some clothes and stuff from Mexico. Like, what's my budget? And I've never given her a budget. I'm like, whatever you want to get. She's like, no, like give me a budget so I could like feel good that I stayed to a budget.
That's good.
Which is good. But like having those conversations is so important so that you're on the same page because you guys, it is a family unit. And if you can be on the same page of, hey, we're sacrificing or we're making changes together to get to a goal that we both agree upon that is important to both of us, it makes these changes a lot easier. I even look at it from a working standpoint. If you've got to go work late or you're doing a side hustle or you're doing these other things to bring in more money, your wife is going to be more supportive of that if you have a goal that you guys are trying to get to together and you're on the same page about it.
Yep.
If you're, it's, hey, should we go eat out tonight or cook at home? You guys are going to be on the same page if you guys have a goal in mind that you're shooting for. And so with that, I think I want to talk about the first step that's applicable to everybody. So if you're listening on this, like, we want to give you steps along this pathway, and we don't want to overwhelm you with everything.
Right.
So like this week, if you're starting out and you're like, hey, I want to start from I'm ground zero. I haven't really built an investment account. I've never done this stuff. I want to start building wealth. Ground zero, step one, create this separate checking account, transfer, do a monthly transfer, first of the month, of whatever you think your burn rate is. And if you have time and you're not afraid to go through the last 6 months of your credit card statements and expenses, do that. Look at the last 6 months or a year, whatever you feel comfortable with. Take the average of your burn rate and set that up as your transfer. And then see where you're at. Let that ride for 30 days and see how much you actually expense. Cool. Maybe adjust that for the next 30 days. Can you stay within that budget? And if you can stay within a burn rate for like 3 months, it's like, okay, maybe that's a good burn rate to have. And then you can be like, where's my income at compared to that burn rate? How much am I having excess each month? And where do I want to put that money? So we'll get into that stuff. But like just set this up so we know where you're at if you have the money that you can start investing with. But on top of that, it's like the other thing I wanted to talk about today is a lot of people don't, it's hard to want to do any of these things if you don't know why you're doing it. Or you don't have a target that you're going for.
Right. Because everybody throws it out in the wind like, yeah, I want to invest.
Oh.
I'd love to invest in real estate. Or
I want to retire.
Yeah, I want to retire when I'm 50 or 40
Yeah.
or 30. Like, yeah, it's just stuff you throw out in the wind.
You throw it out in the wind, and everybody knows it's important, but we don't do it.
Right.
And it's like, why? Like, what is the core person? Like, why are we not making this more of a priority? And it's because I don't think people really know how much it takes to retire. How does it take? How much does it take to live a comfortable life? And so we've got a little exercise that we're going to do. We're going to go through with you guys. In order to do this exercise, you need to know your burn rate. And so that's why I wanted to say first, let's figure out what your burn rate is, because it's important for you to be able to do the math to figure out where your target should be as far as like a net worth goal or a retirement goal. And
I can't emphasize enough, I'm going to say it one more time. That conversation with either yourself in the mirror or with your spouse has to be honest. You cannot guess on the burn rate or this will not work. You have to dissect it. So I agree with your step one as far as getting the checking account set up and all that, but you're going to quickly realize that your burn rate's more than what you think it is. Yeah. You've got to, at some point, go back and look at your expenses, look at every subscription, Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, car washes, like everything, because it adds up quick.
Yep.
The one subscription that you had, I had a subscription, man, for like a note-taking app on my phone.
Yep.
That was $40 a year.
Yeah.
That's $40 a year. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that was $40 a year that I didn't know I was spending. It just came out of the account, you know? And so like, it's so crucial that you know that before you even try to tackle any goal setting, you have to know where you're at, and you have to be honest with yourself and with your spouse.
Yeah. And and check it every once in a while. I mean, because when I went back and checked it just looking at the last 2 months, with all the AI stuff that's coming out.
Right.
Dude, I was subscribing to all the, I wanted to make an AI. I was testing an AI video thing. So I get the weekly free week subscription,
then
but then it's $40 a month and I'm just paying it, and I'm like, dude, I forgot about that. I forgot about this. I forgot about that. And they're little expenses that I don't necessarily feel, right? But I could be saving a couple $100 off of just little subscriptions each month. And it's like those little, check it every so often, like establish it, know what you're at, but then, always look back and make sure you can kind of tweak stuff. Ours is hard too, because it's like some of these things I really put them under our business because they're software and tech. And so it's not caught in my personal burn rate. It's really in my business burn rate. And that's kind of where but as long as you have this transfer set up where it's, hey, you're just transferring, you're going to catch that stuff. Because it's like, hey, my burn rate, I only allowed $6,000 to go into this account. I've spent more. What did I spend it on? You're going to reflect on that a little bit more.
Right.
So anyway, but let's set some goals. So, or let's at least go through this exercise so we can help the audience kind of figure out what they need in order to live the life that they want. Retire at some point. Because our generation should not, please do not count on Social Security. No. I mean, if anything you should plan is that's just a cherry on top if there's any money left when you actually retire. Because the way we're tracking Social Security is probably not going to be as accessible or available in the amounts that it is currently to our generation or our kids' generation. And the other thing you think about when you do this is we're going to give you numbers for you to live the life that you want or, seem fit as of right now. This isn't going to take into account if you really want to leave a legacy for you or your family.
Right.
The other part of this is
or increase your lifestyle at all. This is just based off of what you're currently at.
Yeah, currently at.
Yes.
So there's a lot of factors that come into this that we'll kind of talk about when we're going through it, but keep that in mind. I think about not getting to just a net worth that I want, but a net worth that I feel like I can also leave some benefit to my kids. Mm-hmm. I am a strong believer that we've mentioned this before. The wealth gap is going to get bigger and bigger over the next 10, 20 years, if your kids don't have a head start, it's going to be really hard. So I want to do everything I can to also help my kids get a head start in life. And so that would be leaving them something to be able to leverage and use. So think about that number. Like, what is the impact and also with the impact that you want to have in your community and your society? If you want to be able to, be philanthropic and give back to charities and organizations and leave an impact there, you need more money. So this, again, it's like, you're probably going to want to make this number even bigger, but let's just share like the basics so you understand how much money you're actually going to need, because I think a lot of people our age are like, oh, if you can save I think the consensus, it's like, if I could just have $1 million, I'd be.
Seems like a lot when you think about it.
If I could win the lottery and have $1 million, I'd be set.
Wait till you break it down.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that much money,
right?
If you're trying to live off of it.
Correct.
And you don't have an income. And so there's this sheet we're going to go through. It's like the net worth equation. There's two ways that you can kind of look at this, and this will kind of give you a range. So the first is that you're going to figure out what your annual burn rate is on a monthly basis, and you're going to turn that into an annual expense. So I'm going to run the scenario for like a little bit on the lower end. Let's say somebody that's making, I'm going to use the gross income of $80,000 a year.
Okay.
Because I think, that's probably on average right now, people making about $80,000 a year. Household income, essentially. And then what are and then with the annual expenses on that, I hope your annual expenses aren't quite this much if you're making $80,000 a year, but because you're going to have taxes on that $80,000. But I'm going to run it at $5,000 a month as your burn rate. So if your burn rate is $5,000 a month, and that makes it $60,000 a year in annual expenses, you're going to want to multiply that by 25. And so that gives you $1.5 million. You should be shooting for a $1.5 million net worth. And the reverse of this is, where does that number come from? Well, if you have $1.5 million saved or invested, you could be drawing that balance down at about 4% to cover your expenses of $5,000 a month. And we use 4% because that gives you, if you can, you could put your money in like treasury bills and stuff and usually get like a 4%, pretty low risk return on your money. So then you're really not effectively touching the principal. But if you can also get about an 8% return on your money annually over time, you have a little bit of a spread that money is going to continue to grow. Okay.
So in theory, I want to make sure I'm understanding it correct. I would need if I wanted to live a life that cost me $60,000 a year.
Yep.
Didn't want to change anything else, and I was comfortable with that lifestyle, but I didn't want to have to work to get that lifestyle.
Yes.
I would need $1.5 million to draw from, and I could live off of that the rest of my life.
Theoretically, yes.
In theory.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Now, the reason I don't love this game also is because inflation is very present. You could say I'm okay living off of $60,000 a year right now.
We don't know what that $60,000 gets you in 10 years.
Correct.
Right.
And that's again why we say like you could try to pull more than 4% on this and start drawing down the balance. But I'm like, if you could at least continue, not touch the principal, but have this money continue to grow for you and compound, hopefully like you can draw down 4% in a few years, and it's not going to be $60,000, it'll be $80,000 and then $100,000. And hopefully it's keeping up with inflation. If you're performing at about an 8% to 10% return on your money, you have a delta there that's still growing. That's going to allow you to live off of more than $60,000 a year. So there's some variables in this, but this is going to be generic. Really just trying to open your eyes to what is needed.
How much money you need to retire.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
The other the other part we want to do to get to the range is your expenses can change. And so we also want to just, let's look at how much money are you making annually, and are you comfortable? This also accounts to like, are you comfortable making this amount of money? Like if we could replace your income essentially for you to be able to pull that same income and live off of it, would you be happy? So with the gross income of $80,000 a year, you're going to multiply that by 20, which gives you 1.6 million. So the range for this would be 1.5 to 1.6 million is where you'd want your net worth to be able to draw down and live the lifestyle that you're currently living. My thought is if you're only making 80 grand a year and you have 5 grand in expenses, you're really not living the lifestyle that you probably desire. I don't want to speak for everybody. In today's economy, that seems really tough to live off of 5 grand a month. And that's only going to get more expensive, obviously, with inflation. Correct. So Jace has you broke down another example. Let's walk through your example.
So I did this one a little bit based off of mine. I didn't do exact numbers, but you talked about the economy and everything. Like, your average mortgage is going to be $3,000 to $4,000 for an average size home. So taking that into account, plus adding
car payments,
all that
eating
stuff,
out, food,
it adds up pretty dang quick. So I went based off of $8,000 a month. Okay. So $8,000 a month is about $96K per year. I multiply that by 25. That's $2.4 million. Gross income, $150K. Multiply that by 3 million, or multiply that by 20. Excuse me. That gets you 3 million. And so the range for this scenario is about $2.4 to $3 million.
Yep.
For it to work.
That would allow you to pull about $96,000 a year to be able to live off of without doing anything.
Correct.
Which is good. I mean, $8,000 a month. That's solid. Again, living off of $96,000 a year, in today's economy, it quickly adds up. And the reason I say this too is we're going to talk through a passive income equation as well, because we're looking at this number this is how much money you have saved or invested into the stock market or retirement account so that you can start pulling on that money.
Correct.
This also doesn't account for you could start pulling on, let's say if this is going into a 401k or IRA and stuff, you can start pulling on that at 65 without penalty. If you're trying to retire early and that money's in those accounts, there's going to be penalties for you to draw on that.
Correct.
So again, this is kind of saying this is where you'd want it to be, really ideally at the age of 65 for you to be able to pull and not live off Social Security. Now, if you want to retire before 65,
which I think any person listening to this, myself included, so raise your hand.
Yeah.
We all want that.
100%.
We all want to retire before we're
100%.
65.
I would love, and so I said I would share some of my goals, with some of the goals that I have. One of mine, I would love to be in a place where my net worth or passive income, either one of those, is where I don't have to work. I can live the lifestyle that I want off of my passive income or my investments by the age of 40. Gives me about 10 more years to try to do that. The reason, and why 40 is important to me, is it's really for kids. I have 3 girls. My youngest is 3. 10 more years, she'll be about 13. It'll be her teenage years. I want to be able to really enjoy sports, events, taking them where I want to take them on trips, without having to work as hard as I'm working right now. I also don't think I'm ever really going to retire, just my personality. I love what we do. I love what we're working on. That may change, but I really just want to have that flexibility to know that hey, I could work if I want to work, and when I want to work and on the things that I want to work on. I would say this. I would say most people don't want to retire. They think of the word retirement, but the actual word that I would probably say is just freedom. Freedom, 100%.
Just the ability to choose what you want to do day in and day out, and you're not going to care or think about the hit it's going to take financially on you by doing those things.
Yeah. You can say no to the things.
Yes.
And you can spend your time on going to the soccer game, going to the dance, going to whatever, not asking anybody on whether you can or can't do that.
Correct.
And saying no to things that you could be making money on because I don't really need that money.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. So that let's say that's that freedom number. I want to hit that freedom number essentially for me by 40. I think that's my ideal. Then my 2 youngest daughters would only be about 11. And I can really spend those years. I think about the most time you're going to have with your kids is before they're 18. Really the most time in this is kind of depressing because I'm not there yet, but the most time you're going to have with your kids is really by the age of 12, 13 is where you're going to spend 80% of the time that you're going to have with your kids is in those first 12 years. Then they have friends and obviously they get into sports and all that stuff. You're not going to see them as much. And so the quicker I can get to that number, the better for me.
Well, and what I like about that is, you know, we put a destination goal there, right? But that doesn't mean that you're not going to enjoy the fruits of the labor of trying to reach that goal in the process of that. Correct. So like you say you got 10 years till you've hit that, you know, magic destination, right? I'd argue that in year 5, you're going to see the fruits of that goal, and you're going to have a little bit of that freedom. And so my point in saying that is enjoy the journey just as much as the destination.
Correct.
As long as you're progressing and meeting your goals every year and all that stuff, just enjoy the journey, or you're going to look back and be like, oh crap, I missed it.
Yeah. Staying, and that's where I think setting having an age or whatever, but then staying on track. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're staying on track,
then you're
good. Fine.
Yeah.
And I think like we're already seeing that today. It's like, we're not to that number by any means, but like we're on track.
You're getting tastes of it.
And so, I'm, you know, one day a week I'm taking where you go on daddy-daughter dates and have fun with the girls and take slower mornings. And so like we are taking advantage of some of those things now, while still putting in the work all the other days of the week to try to make sure that we're staying on pace for where we want to get to.
Right.
Okay. So the passive income equation, the simplest way that we're going to put this, like this kind of breaks it down, because if it's passive income, that's income. And I guess even if we retire early, that's depending on where the income is coming from on the top equation, you're going to get taxed on some of that potentially too. But let's say it's passive income, that is always going to get taxed. And so we built in, you know, let's say you're going to get hit with a 30% tax on that income. So we're going to take your annual expenses, we're going to times those, or take your monthly expenses, times it by 12 to get your annual expenses. And then we're going to add 30% to that and say like, hey, you need a 30% increase to account for tax expense on your passive income. And then you can live off of the 70%. So if you want to get to, we're going to do the quick numbers on this for you. Let's say you want to get to, let's say $5,000. You want to live off $5,000 a month.
Yep.
Actually, I'm going to use 10 grand. Everybody, when you talk to them about passive income, they're like, if I can make 10 grand a month passively,
10 grand.
that is like the number, you know, which again, it's like, anyway, 10 grand a month isn't crazy. Like, you can expend that really quick. So, but let's say 10 grand a month. So really you're going to need 13,000, because 10,000 a month times 12 is 120,000, times 0.3 is 36,000. So we're going to add that back into the 120,000. So you need 150,000 a year in passive income to really be living off of 10 grand a month, which equates to about 13,000 a month in passive income. And that would get you to be able to have 10 grand a month that you could live off of. And you can play with that number however you want. Like, let's say if your burn rate really is 5,000 or 6,000, maybe you get your passive income to that level. And this is where this is kind of the real estate side. Like the first equation is if you're just putting money into your retirement accounts in the stock market, here's kind of where you should go for. If you want to invest in real estate, it's like we're really just looking at the passive income as far as a retirement goal. Because it's not, your net worth doesn't necessarily matter as well. It's what is the true number of how much money are you making after debt service and expenses with a property that you're netting each month. And you also got to take in, like, obviously build into that sheet too, like you're going to have some expenses on properties too. So you always have like an expense load. You should be budgeting like 10% of your monthly cash flow that's coming in for maintenance and repairs. Even if it's not hitting you right now, plan for that in the future. But that number, like you can get to that number, let's say without having a super high net worth, if you can find good assets and good deals. We had a friend, he was just telling me today, somebody on our team, they just helped their little brother buy a triplex. And I'm actually really disappointed that I didn't buy this triplex. I didn't freaking know about it. But here are the numbers on it.
It was a good deal.
It was a good deal.
It was a really good deal.
Dude, I'm like, dude, I need to be more freaking active on the MLS. We've been so into just buying off market properties because most of the time deals that hit the MLS just aren't deals.
Right.
But this triplex, he bought for like a little over 300,000. He was going to house hack it. So which means he's going to live in one of the units, rent out the other two units. his goal was just to be like, hey, if I can basically live for free, this is awesome, which it is. They ended up getting the property appraised. It appraised for like almost $150,000 more than he bought it for. So he was able to use that appraised value, get a little bit better terms on his loan because he had more equity in the deal essentially. And he was gonna roughly, like when he first looked at the numbers, he was basically gonna be able to live there for $50 a month. The other two renters were gonna basically cover his mortgage. Well, now he's actually gonna live for free because he's gonna have no rent. The other two renters, the income's gonna pay for the mortgage, and he's gonna make like $200 to $300 a month. Now that deal, why it makes me upset is like if he wasn't living there and he could rent the third unit, that deal probably brings in like $1,300 a month. And I'm like,
pretty unheard of nowadays.
yeah, it's freaking solid.
Yeah, that's money.
And then you think about, okay, $300,000 purchase price, 20%, that's 20, 40, 60 grand that you'd put down for 60 grand. If you can get a freaking $1,000 return. Oh, so that was a great deal. Awesome for him. I'm glad he got it. But let's see like that. It's like, he didn't have to save. He had to put 60 grand down to get $1,000 in return, which is a great return. And so anyway, looking at this passive equation, like it could, let's say you can get $1,000 a month off of a property that takes 10 properties. So then it's like, how much down payment do you need for those 10 properties? So you could probably get to that passive income number a lot quicker than just the net worth number,
right?
Is my point. And so, and that's the game that we like to play. Like we're all for the real estate game. I love tracking my net worth and love seeing that number too. But ultimately, like what's most important to me is cash flow, is how much passive income can I get from rental properties. And even like I look at some businesses are kind of passive income streams for me. There's businesses that we've started that I don't spend really any time in there. And if they spit off some monthly income for me, it's kind of passive. As long as we hold that asset, we have that business, that'll be passive income. We have a great opportunity with our brokerage, our real estate brokerage at Real Broker. Like we get revenue share, and I consider that passive income. Like there's not a whole lot I do for that income that passively comes to me. And so we're trying to get to that passive income number that we really want to hit. And I think everybody should look at one of these two situations and have a goal. What is the number I want to get to? And even if you're living, let's say if you're living off of $5,000 a month right now because you're only making about $80K a year, like run that number so you know what you need to do to maintain your life, but then run the other number. What is the dream life? Hey, how much would it cost? And this is kind of a fun little exercise. This puts you out into the future and lets you envision stuff. But what is the dream car that you want? How much is that going to cost a month? Dream house. Hey, there's this house. Be like, look on Zillow a little bit. Be like, hey, there's this $1 million house. Well, how much is $1 million mortgage? Okay. Or let's say $700,000-800,000 mortgage for putting a few $100,000 down. What is the monthly cost there? Okay. How much do I really like if I want to eat out and travel? And I want to travel a little bit in class, like maybe hit a little business class every once in a while and not have to stress about it. How much money do you actually need a month to be coming in to live the lifestyle that you want? And then make the goal. Okay, well let's say I need $20,000 a month coming in to live the lifestyle that I want. Okay, now run the math on that number. That number is going to be a lot bigger, but it gives you a target that you should be shooting for. Because what is the alternative? If you don't do all these things and you don't do the math and you don't figure it out, you will never get there.
Well, I'll tell you this, because this is actually really, really important. So I love the 401k concept because it essentially forces people to invest in their retirement.
Yeah.
So that when you do turn 65, you're not having to work. Is it the most productive thing in the world? No, but it's something that's almost done for you by the employer.
Yeah.
And is something that is beneficial. Don't fall into the trap if you're a business owner that doesn't have a 401k.
Yeah.
That just doesn't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's traps with the 401k, ways that it couldn't work. People get too self-reliant on it. There's traps without a 401k with people who don't have that option that just don't do anything. And 100%. Then you turn 65 and you're like, oh crap, I have no money. And so the goal with all this is, number one, do something.
Correct.
You've got to invest in your future.
Take ownership.
Take ownership.
take ownership of your life, take ownership of your future. Nobody's coming to save you.
Yep.
Figure out a game plan. There's continue.
No, and I was going to say, and that by doing that, then, like you said, you have a target goal, because the goal, when you're just shooting it as a pipe dream, like, oh, I need $3 million. Holy cow, that's a lot of money when you think about it.
Yeah.
But that's what people are doing with 401ks.
Yeah.
Right? It takes 65 years to get there, but that's what they're doing. It's incremental steps.
Yep.
And so when you reverse engineer that goal and set goals for yourself, you can achieve that. It's an achievable thing within what you're making now.
Yeah.
And then if that goal, like with the dream scenario that you're saying, then you can set different goals on, like, okay, here's how much money I need to start making.
Yep.
So do I start looking for a different job? Do I go ask for that promotion? Do I do some side hustles in our industry? Do I focus a little bit more on trying to sell more? Or, there's just, you cannot set a goal without knowing where you're at and where you want to be.
100%. There's a few things I want to hit on there. One, I think the next episode we should do is, once you have established your number, you've got your burn rate and you've established this number that you want to get to, let's do an exercise where we show them, okay, what would it take to actually get to that number? Like, how much should you be putting away, and how long would it take if you can get a 10% return on your money? How long will it take you to hit that number? That'll be fun.
It's great.
So we'll do that next one. So you can have another step, like, just figure this out, and then we'll help you figure out how long it's going to take you to actually get there and run some scenarios with you. But here's the beef that I have with the whole 401ks and retirement plans. There's a few things.
It's not a perfect plan. I'm saying that right now.
It's not a perfect plan. And you think about the incentive, like the reason the government incentivizes you to, the reason they give you the tax breaks is, like, they want, you're putting money into the economy and you're tying it up there for 40 years. So it's great because you're forced to put money into companies that are U.S. based companies in the stock market. That money then goes to those companies, who then get to spend that money growing or doing things. So it pumps up the economy, which is great. Cool. If you understand, like, that is the incentive there for the government to give you tax breaks, to put your money and tie it up for X amount of, years. The beefs that I have with it is, what if you don't live till 65?
Right.
You never get to really see that money.
No.
And if you actually look at the average age of, like, American men, I think the average age is like 60, 65. So it's like right when you're able to access that money, you're dead.
Yeah.
So you don't get to live the life, it's great for planning for the future and stuff. I would rather try to have a solution or a plan for me to get there quicker and enjoy the money and be able to access it when I want, for the things that I want to. And then the other thing is, I just lost my train of thought. What was I thinking about with that? I had two beefs with it. And don't get me wrong, like, we contribute to our simple IRA. So we have a simple IRA retirement plan. Again, it's similar. Like, we can't touch that until we retire at 65 without penalty. But the reason I do that is because there's the incentive that if we contribute to those IRAs, we get a tax saving that year. So I look at it as, like, okay, is it worth me saving on some taxes to just contribute some money to that account? So we do contribute to those. But if that was all the money I had and I wasn't also, like, putting money aside to invest in real estate and stuff, I probably wouldn't do that first. Like, I would go invest in real estate.
It's not a smart plan.
And I don't want to say smart. I want to be careful with that because, like, it can be a smart plan depending on your life and your situation, what you want to do. It's not the best plan for me, is the way I look at it. But if you have an employer and they're doing a match and stuff, run the numbers. Maybe it does make sense for you to maximize those, that 401k or whatever they're offering. But I would really look at, like, my biggest struggle is, like, man, I want to be able to, it's not a great solution for being able to retire early because you can't access the funds. I even look at my parents had, they had to get to a certain age and work a certain amount of period for them to access their pension. And then, they have all this money in the stock market in their retirement accounts. They can't live off of it until they're 65. They wanted to retire before they're 65. So they were contributing to that, but they were also building their passive income with real estate. And ultimately, that's what's helping them retire early, is like having that passive income that's coming in from real estate now, so they can use that to live off of until they're 65 and can really start drawing on those accounts. And then they have their work pension stuff. And then on the business, my other grief was with the business owners, because obviously it's like, as business owners, you'd say, oh, well, I don't have, I'm self-employed, so I don't have a 401k option with an employer or stuff like that. One, you should set up your simple IRA, because there are some tax savings there for you as a business owner if you can contribute to your simple IRAs. So that's a solution. But then as a business owner, a lot of the times, like, they just bank on, oh, I'm going to just sell my business when I'm done, and that'll be my retirement. Hopefully your business is worth something by the time you're done. But that's a scary bet, to bet 30, hey, like in 30 years, I'm just going to sell my business and that's going to be my retirement plan. Who knows if your business is actually going to be worth anything in 30 years? Like, things are changing so quickly that, like, if you're a business owner running like a social media marketing company, it might not be worth that much with all the AI stuff that's coming out right now. If you're running a software company, I don't know, that maybe those are extremes, but like, don't bank on that. Unless you really have like, hey, I'm building a company to scale it and sell it within the next 10 years. And here's my strategy for that sell. Perfect. But like, if you're running a local bookstore, or you have a plumbing company or an HVAC company, and you're like, I'm just going to hand this over or sell it to somebody at the end. A lot of people struggle selling their businesses because they're really not worth that much at the end of the day.
Well, and I think it's almost, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, I look at that as like equivalent to someone who's just not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
Because there's the person who's like probably, and this goes for business owners, this can apply to employees as well, but usually as an employee, you're in a 401k, so at least you're doing something. But as a business owner, small business owner, a lot of people just aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, at some point I'm gonna work on my retirement. People are like, yeah, I'm gonna sell my business at some point.
Yeah. Next
thing you know, you're 50 years old and you haven't done anything. So the point that we're trying to make here is you have to start doing something. Like you said, whether it's a simple IRA, whether it's just throwing money even into a savings account, that's going to be better than just not doing anything.
Yeah. Having a plan.
Yeah.
Is what is the most important part here. And understanding, like, hopefully this episode, I really want to nail down why it's important and how much it actually takes. Because I think a lot of people don't understand how much it actually takes. Mm-hmm. And they think like, oh, later, I'll do it later. And then you're right. And then you wake up and you're 30, then you're 40, then you're 50.
Yeah.
And you haven't been doing these things.
Right.
And you have less time at that point. You have less time for that money to compound. And like, if you are in good health and in medical field and stuff keeps progressing, like, we might live longer. So you're going to need probably even more money to be able to live, till the end of your life and have the funds that you need to live in a good and fun way. The last thing that I want to share, and we'll put this up on the screen too, because we'll kind of walk through it, but this is it's here. It's like, do the math and the plan will come. So it kind of breaks it down by age and how many years you've worked and the multiple of income that you should be shooting for based on the income that you're bringing in annually. So for an example here, it's saying that you're starting work at age 22. So if you're 25, you've worked for 3 years, you should be shooting for at least a 1 multiple on your net worth, a 1 multiple of your income. So if you're making 50 grand a year and you've been working for 3 years, you should have a net worth of 50 grand. If you're making 100 grand a year and you're 25, you should have a net worth of 100 grand. So this gives like a baseline of where you should be at, to see like, hey, am I on pace with where I should be to be able to like retire and have the funds that I want to be able to live this life when I need to. And the interesting thing here that you'll kind of notice is it slowly increases until you become 50 and you've been working for roughly 50 years. Or no, sorry, not 50 years. When you're 50 and you've been working for roughly like 28 years, it says you want a multiple of 50 on your income. And then it starts to go down. And why is that? Why does it start to go down? Well, as you become 60, you're not going to live as long. So you might not need as much left in your retirement account to be able to live. So it shows, hey, if I wanted to retire now and be able to draw the money that I want to draw on for the income that I have, here's the net worth that I need that to be at. And it's crazy because it's like, let's say you're 30 years old. You should have, and you've worked for 8 years, you should have a 5 multiple on your income. So if you've been making $100,000 for the last 5 years, you should have, or last 8 years, you should have a $500,000 net worth. If you've been making $150,000, you should have a $750,000 net worth. And then by the age of 40, you should have a multiple of 20. So if you're making $100,000 a year, you should have $2 million on your net worth. If you've been making $200,000 a year, you should have $4 million on your net worth. And that is like as if you've worked for 18 years. The fun thing with this is like, look at it. Everybody in the audience, like, look at your age, look at how much your annual income is and how long you've been working, and see what multiple you should be at for your net worth. And then also compare that to where are you at. The good thing is, like, if you're behind, cool. Like, at least you know that, and let's get a game plan for you to get on track. And you might look at this and be like, hey, I haven't really been tracking, or I haven't had a plan, but looks like I'm kind of where I need to be based on my age and stuff. And then, like, set a plan to get there quicker. Like, hey, if you're on track, where do you actually want to be in the next 5-10 years? And could you get there quicker? This mentor that I have that runs a big mastermind in Scottsdale, his whole goal is like he gamifies it, and he's like, he's got his net worth that he wants to get to and how many years it's going to take him. And he tries to see, like, breaking down, like, let's put this in an example. So if I want to get to that number, my net worth number at 40, or my passive income number at 40, what do I need to be doing on an annual basis? Like, next year I need to be at this net worth and this passive income to stay on track. Well, he tries to get it like, how many years ahead could I get? So can I get there, like, hey, can I be like 3 years ahead, 4 years ahead, and then just get there earlier? And some people are just gonna be like, hey, as long as I can stay on track, great. Which the point of this is, like, just have a plan and be able to measure whether you are or not on track. It's really hard to, I tie like all this back to like business and fitness. It's like, it's really hard not to eat calories if you don't have like a calorie goal that you're shooting for that day. Or like, I look at, until I started tracking for like calories, I never really tracked my calories. I'd go to the gym all the time. And I just struggled with my weight. Like, I was always kind of just either gaining weight or like staying the same. And it's because, like, I wasn't actually measuring what I was intaking calorie wise, and I wasn't measuring what I was burning calorie wise. So, and it was really hard for me to not want to eat something, a cookie or treats that got brought to the office. It was really hard for me to say no to that because, like, well, I don't have a goal. Like, just a cookie. But as soon as I had a goal, it was like, hey, I'm actually only going to eat X amount of calories a day, and I started tracking it, then I actually started making progress. It's crazy. Like, it was nothing, like, and I knew to lose weight, I need to eat less calories than I burn. Like, I need to have a deficit. It's the same thing with your finances. There needs to be a deficit between your burn rate and your income, monthly income. If there is a deficit, and you could start saving whatever that, I don't want to say deficit because you need to have maybe that's not the right term. There needs to be a gap though. And you can start saving that. You'll actually start making the decisions to save it because you know that you have a goal, and that's what needs to happen for you to have that goal. Does that make sense? Like, you have to measure this stuff, and you have to have a purpose behind it, and it's going to make your decision making a lot easier. Right. And so, sit down with your spouse, go through this together, see what the number is that you would need to be at to live the life that you want. Have the fun little exercise about, like, play it out. Hey, if it's $20,000 a month that you want to be spending to live the lifestyle that you want, what number do you need to get to? And next week, we'll go through a few different scenarios of what it would take to get to those numbers if you're just investing money and had a decent return on that money. And then if you want, like, the stuff that gets me excited is like the real estate side of things is like, let's use that little brother, for example. His net worth just increased substantially with one purchase. He bought a property and made 150 grand in equity. Mm-hmm. So yes, work hard, save money, but it's not like you don't have to save all that money.
You don't have to save $3 million to retire.
Correct.
Yes.
There's ways that money's going to grow and that I can't even explain to you, but it's going to multiply so much faster. But you're never going to get those opportunities if you don't have money to invest. Mm-hmm. He saved his down payment and had money to invest. And that's what and honestly, he was buying it as a primary residence. So he probably only put 5% down.
Yeah. And so it's a lot easier to digest to say, okay, I have a goal of saving $20,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier to digest than I need to save $3 million in order to retire.
Correct.
That's why these incremental goals are super important.
Yeah. And it's why learning different strategies of investing are important. Mm-hmm. Because it seems overwhelming at first, but when you break it down, it's like, hey, if I could buy a few different properties and make 100 grand in equity in them, well, I could get there within like 30 properties. And then how many down payments do I need for those 30 properties? Right. So there's so many ways to get to this number, but the biggest thing is to understand that what the number is that you need to get to, and then deciding what is it going to take to make that happen. So
to recap, because we talked a lot about a couple different things today, but to recap, the goal that I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the audience on what we want them to do, take away from this episode. Number one, be honest with yourself and with your spouse. Have a conversation about what you're actually spending so that you know where you're at. Number two, create a bank account to separate that so that you can either keep track or that can be part of number one in identifying what your burn rate is.
Yep.
And then step number three is set goals. Identify what you would need to retire, what you would need to retire dream-wise.
Yeah.
And that's where that can get kind of fun. The first two, or the first one is going to be hard. It's going to be very, very difficult. It's not a fun conversation.
No.
But it has to happen. It is the most important thing on this journey.
Pivotal.
By far, in my opinion. If you don't do it, you won't get there.
Yeah.
It's that important.
Yep.
So do those three things, and we're excited to talk about more.
Yeah.
There's the other episodes.
Last thing I'm going to mention on this is we've had a lot of people reach out too about this group that we want to start around this podcast. The community that we want to have. And so we're working on those details. The big thing is like we've got a few different things up in the air is we want to basically maybe have a community that's open to everybody. Whether that's like a Facebook community or somewhere people can kind of join and, we share strategies and people can chat, and be around like-minded people that are all on this journey together. So we'll probably start something like that. And then we want to have the in-person, group that gets together on like a monthly basis. With that group, we want to keep things intimate and, impactful. And so we're probably going to limit it to 10 to 20 people, right off the bat, so that we can keep things tight-knit and impactful for those that are able to attend those events and be a part of that group. And so we're going to put together a link that we'll send out in this next episode. That's going to be kind of like an intake form. So if you're interested in being part of this group, it's going to be free. But we just want to see where you're at, and make sure that this is going to be a group that is fitting for you. Really, honestly, it'll probably be like first come, first serve too. But just know that we're going to cap it off at around that 10 to 20. And so if you are interested, we'll have something, submit it so we know that you're interested, and we'll start putting together some actual dates, for those events. We're probably going to do like evenings. We'll probably do like kind of a dinner thing. It may be at a restaurant, or we're actually thinking about maybe just doing it at a venue. So it's a little bit less, so we can be more social and interact versus kind of being at a restaurant. So I think it's going to be a really fun thing. I'm excited for that. So stay tuned, listen to the next episode, and we'll have some information that you can fill out so that you can be first on the list for this community.
Love it. Super excited for that. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, all right. Well, until next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Welcome to the chase where the champions dwell. To the grind, to the hustle, the